Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to What We Watch. Been like over a year in the making.
It has.
3 people who are listening. It's finally here. I know
It's
I've waited
happening.
eagerly for this to happen. So I hope
I'm so happy for us, Garrett.
I know. It took us quite a while, but we finally made it. Do we want to share the Just Cuz drama? We have beef with them.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Do you want to? Spill the tea.
Yeah. So Natalie came up with the idea of this podcast, which we'll be explaining as we go. But the idea was we're cousins. We like movies. I'm kind of more cynical. She's kind of more likes everything. So we were like, what if we watch movies and talk about it in like that type of like way? And we were like, oh, that was great. And we came up with the name Just Cuz, because, we're cousins. That's funny. But then what did you find on Apple Podcasts?
We literally went to Chili's, planned it all out. We had our first episode, which we are now recording. Heck yeah. But I was like, I had the thought after we went to Chili's, planned everything out, I should probably just check to see if anybody has this name. So I go to Apple Podcasts. I open it up. I search Just Cuz. And lo and behold, literally the exact same podcast is created. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's named Just Cuz. It's 2 cousins, a boy and a girl, talking about movies. And it really just, solidified the idea that I've never had an original thought in my brain ever. But yeah, it was just crazy. So I'm glad that we've made it. We came up with a new name, What We Watch, which I think it might be better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more marketable, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We could put it on merch.
Exactly. And what was I going to say? Yeah, Just Cuz, if you guys are even still recording, we got beef with you. I was really ticked off. So
we do
thanks.
have beef.
Yeah,
they don't even know it. It's one-sided beef, but
yeah, we could do a crossover episode eventually. But
yeah,
we're getting ahead of ourselves. Who is? Before we begin, let's introduce the hosts. So, ladies first, who is Natalie Brinkerhoff?
I'm Natalie. I am 23, just barely, December 28th.
What?
I know, right? I currently am a bridal consultant. That's what I do for work. I help girls find their wedding dresses. Very fun. And then I am kind of in school, kind of not. I like to take lots of breaks because I don't necessarily know what I want to do with my life. And so, yeah, right now I'm taking a break, but who knows, I might go back soon. And then I also do a little bit of photography on the side, usually just for family and friends, but occasionally I'll get a client in there. I'm from Utah. I was born here and I was raised here, but I have not always lived here. So just want to clear the air on that. I've lived in California. I've lived in Illinois. But I am a Utah girl and I love pop culture. So I really love drama between celebrities. I love movies. I love TV shows. I love TikTok. I love all of that stuff. And so, yeah. That's me. And what about you?
Well, I do have a question because the initial idea of this podcast was yours. So I'm wondering what made you come up with the idea for What We Watch?
Good question, because I'm not even sure. I think it came to me
in a dream.
But I think I was just thinking about podcasts. I was really in my podcast era. I was listening to a lot of things as while you were on your mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Little plug.
Shout out. But it was while you were on your mission, and it was probably still kind of in the throes of COVID a little bit. So I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I was like, this sounds really fun. What could I do? What do I like that I could make into something that I could talk about for a long time? And I was like, well, I like movies. I like pop culture. I could probably talk about it for a long time. And then I was like, well, I wouldn't want to do it by myself. Who else likes movies? It's Garrett.
I like movies. That's me.
So tell us about you, G.
That was such a good transition. That was so just fluid. And now that I'm pointing it out, it's not as good anymore. But I'm Garrett. I'm 22 years old. I'm an aspiring writer and director, which means nothing really, because everybody can say that. I'm currently working on like my first book in stores soon.
Watch
We'll
out.
see. Yeah, watch out. Watch out,
Hitting
Brandon
Barnes and
Sanderson.
Noble soon.
Yeah, hitting Barnes and Noble within the year. Within the year. But
Let's go.
I love storytelling. I love movies. They've really like kind of changed my life and helped me learn who I am and who I want to become. And like that sounds very dramatic, but like that's kind of how they've shaped me as a person. Like the reason we're doing this podcast is because obviously we like movies, but the reason I pretty much do almost anything in my life is because of some story that has inspired me, obviously along with people outside of that, like parents and siblings and other examples like that. But movies and just stories in general have had such a profound impact on me that the reason I want to do a podcast, write, direct, that type of stuff is because I want to be able to do that for somebody else, for another kid and stuff like that, so they can have things that can inspire them and motivate them, which sounds very pretentious because it is.
No,
but
it's not.
that is why we are here. That's why I'm here anyways.
Yep.
But yeah, that's me. You're probably going to not like my opinions on a lot of things, just like I probably won't like your opinions on a lot of things, but that's exactly why we want to do this podcast.
Exactly.
So essentially, just to kind of explain a little bit what the podcast really is, the idea is you'll hear opinions from like both sides. You'll hear opinions from like my more critical, pretentious, snooty side as a film major. And then you'll hear Natalie's opinion from the more like general audience. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say that you like everything, but you're like a lot easier to please.
I'm so easy to please. There's probably been it's hard for me to give like less than 3 stars on Letterboxd. Like I feel bad. I don't feel bad, but like it's hard. Like most, I'm like, oh yeah, that was good. So
yeah,
exactly.
But the fact that you even use Letterboxd does show me that eventually you could come over to the dark side a little bit more and start giving like 1s and 2 stars eventually.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
but I mostly just like it so that I can read the funny comments.
That's true for now. I mean, I like Letterboxd for that too. But so basically the bi-weekly structure for this episode or for this podcast will essentially be like in the beginning, we'll have a fun segment, which I don't know what that means. What is the fun segment?
That's my job. Okay. We'll come up with ideas together, but we'll just like start it off with something fun, something fresh, maybe some audience participation, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Once we get an audience.
Yeah, once we get an audience. Shout out in the YouTube comments if you're here on day one, our avid followers.
Our day one?
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll have that fun segment. Then essentially how it'll work is like 1 week I'll pick a movie we watch, and then 1 week Natalie will pick a movie we watch, and then we'll discuss that based on pretty much categories we've set up, which are plot, character, aesthetic, which means like cinematography, editing, that type of stuff. And then music, because music really makes the movie.
Major key.
Acting, and then writing. So if you can remember all that, you probably won't, but it's fine because we'll remember all that. And then, yeah, we'll basically like probably disagree on some things. The idea is like, I'll pick a movie. Obviously, we'll have movies that we both like, but I'm sure there's going to be movies where like you really love it and I'm like, this is trash. And then we have basically like a discussion and fight maybe on that. And then that's like
could be
the
fun.
Fun of it. So hopefully that's fun anyways. But
we'll see.
Maybe
maybe
this friendship will just be broken after like 2 episodes, but we'll see.
Maybe we'll have to stop by episode 5. We're going to be like, you know what? It's not worth the contention
Can't do
anymore.
it. Hopefully, but the idea is bi-weekly, so hopefully that means 2 episodes a month. For January, there might be 1 episode. I'm hoping to edit this and like have it out by like early next week, like Tuesday record days, then the next Tuesday release days. But we'll see what happens. But for now,
we're figuring it out.
Yeah,
getting in the groove.
Exactly. That being said, this is the early stages, so if the audio does not sound the greatest, that is why. We're testing some things out, figuring things out. But I mean, the only people who are going to listen to this first one is like family and friends anyway. So I'm sure they don't really mind. But when we're like famous and stuff and getting ad deals, people might go back to this first episode and be like, woo, that was
Yeah.
rough.
You
But
know what? It's fine. Give us
yeah,
some
water
grace.
under the bridge. Yeah, give us some grace. But so for this first episode, rather than picking a movie, we wanted to just obviously introduce ourselves, but also talk about our favorites. So you kind of get a sense of like what my tastes are, what Natalie's tastes are, and we'll be like clowning on each other for our favorites, maybe agreeing with each other. And I'm thinking we take this like category by category.
Yeah,
So like,
I was thinking the same thing. We're on
yeah,
the same page already. I love it.
exactly. That's why we're co-hosts.
Brilliant.
Exactly. So I say we start like drama, comedy, action, animated, and then the last one is like our favorite movie of all time.
Yes.
Sound good?
That's what I was exactly thinking.
See, look at that. The connection. It's
They
already
won't always be like this.
okay, so
I say you
let's
go
start
first.
off. Okay, for
Your
drama.
drama.
So I have two. I have two for
I
a
didn't
decent
know we
amount
were
of
allowed to
these.
do two.
We aren't, but I did anyways because it's our podcast. We can do whatever we want. So for drama, I have two. The Truman Show is the first one, and Dead Poet Society.
I have seen Dead Poet Society, have not seen The Truman Show.
Really, you haven't seen Truman Show? That might be an episode coming up because I haven't seen it in like very long time, like over 3 years. But I watched it like pre-mission, like all the time. So I really, really love it. And it's Jim Carrey in a serious role. And it's pretty crazy because it's like, do you know like the like or the idea of it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
At least I think I do. Isn't it he like being, I don't know, he is he being he's like in a movie, but like he doesn't know? Okay.
Yeah. It's like
maybe I don't know.
everybody in his life is like an actor and he is just being like filmed for a TV show and he has no idea. And so
Okay,
the
yeah.
idea is like him
I
picking up
guess
on that.
show, not
Yeah,
movie.
not
Truman
movie.
Show.
Truman
Okay.
Show, hence show. But yeah, Dead Poet Society, I rewatched that like a year ago or something. That movie's so good. That movie is
That is
so
a great
good.
movie. It is so sad though.
Top 10 endings for real though. The way
And
that ends.
well, I need to rewatch it because I remember just not going. I remember I've seen it once. And I went
Yeah.
into that movie having literally no idea what it was about. Just that I had seen
Really?
some like edits to it on TikTok, and I was like, it's probably time for me to give this a watch.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That was really good, but really sad, and I don't know how to. I don't know how to move on.
Yeah, it is like
So,
the coming of age movie, I think. Like,
yeah.
also I didn't realize this until just now, but both my movies in drama are the main actors are actors who are normally in comedies, but it's their dramatic roles.
So you like range.
Yeah, maybe there's a theme there. I don't know.
Love
We'll
it.
go
Guess we'll
into
find
that.
out.
We'll unpack that later. But
Yeah.
what are your favorite dramas?
Well, I didn't know we could have more than one.
Yeah.
But so I chose one, and I chose The Count of Monte Cristo.
Nice.
Fun story about this movie. I was forced into watching it. Then I ended up loving it. So yeah, I don't have too much to say about it other than that it's just like super interesting. Love Jim Caviezel. It's great. Loved it.
And we get baby Superman in that movie too.
You do? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you reminded me of that because he's so cute in it.
He's like 16 years old. I think he was 16 years old when they filmed that, and he looks like he's like a grown man.
No, he does.
Better than I will ever look. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's wild.
Oh,
yeah.
That was the part.
Anyways.
That was the part when you were supposed to go, no, Garrett, like you look great, but you didn't say that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. I want to rewatch that, so that might be an episode.
That'll be an episode soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie.
We'll probably be saying that for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. It'll help us remember, get our lists going.
Exactly. So,
cool.
Any other thoughts on Count of Monte Cristo?
No, I just love some drama. I love some revenge. Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite scenes, potentially like of all time, is in that movie when like I can't remember the dude's name, but he puts him in the like prison cart with like a gun, and he's like, "I'm either gonna send you to like the prison that you sent me to, or you can shoot yourself."
Oh yeah, yes.
And then that dude goes to shoot himself, and then
there's no
it's
bullet.
blank. Yeah, and then his face like appears in frame. He's like, "You didn't think I'd make it that easy, did you?" And then the guy goes off. that scene is like hilarious because of like how he just like pops into frame, but it goes so hard,
It
dude.
goes so crazy. Yeah, I know.
I
I
just
need to
like
watch that one again soon.
yeah, that definitely is. There's the problem though. We can't pick movies that we just agree with everything on, but
I know.
we'll inevitably have some of those. So that might be the first one that we fully agree on, but we'll see. So
Okay. I will start off the next one. Which one did we want to go to?
comedy,
Funny?
let's say.
Comedy?
Yeah.
Comedy? Okay. See, I had to choose a rom-com because I love some romance, and so I chose She's the Man. Mostly because I could watch that movie a million times and not get sick of it, and also it's probably one of my most quoted movies of all time. I do quote it quite often, but I really could, since we're allowed to pick two. I'm also gonna
Yeah.
throw in Pitch Perfect.
Okay, that's valid. That is valid.
So
I haven't seen She's the Man since like I was like 8 years old, which is funny because I don't know why I was allowed to watch that when I was 8 years old.
Yeah, 8.
But I watched that like a few times as a kid, and then my mom was like, "Oh, you shouldn't watch that." So I was like, "Okay." And then I just haven't watched it since. But I've seen like I have like core memories of that movie, probably because I was like 8 when I watched it. So a lot of like the dirtier scenes, I was like, "This is like
You're like
ingrained in my
changing your
brain."
mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's
They're
like,
not
oh,
even that bad. That's so
yeah.
funny.
But it's like maybe I do like girls like that. It was that type of movie, which is ironic
Which
because
is weird because she's
yeah,
a man.
yeah, because she's a man. But we'll unpack
We'll
that later,
explore
man.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we need to chat about, G.
Anyways, moving past my questionable choices, my favorite comedies are Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Love that movie. Freaking hilarious. Michael
Never
Cera,
seen it.
The Man That You Are. Michael Cera, I love you. He's so funny. And then Roderick Rules is my second.
Oh, I love Roger Rules.
Yeah.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid in general. Fire.
Mhm. That's like a foundational movie for me because when I was a kid, the point of those movies kind of went over my head because the whole point of at least the first one is supposed to be like, nah, Greg is like a bad person. You should not like Greg. Like the whole point is him growing and learning to be better. But I was like, no, guy is like the coolest dude of all time. So like
Greg is him.
exactly. I put Roderick Rules, but I kind of meant like the trilogy because
Yeah.
like you know how in the first movie he's like teaching Riley to be cool and he's like you have to put one strap on because like one strap is cool. Like you don't put two straps in your backpack. I lived by that until I was like a freshman in high school. Like I never put on two straps because it was like Greg Heffley told me not to.
Greg
And
Heffley
Greg was
said
always
no.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But as I have matured, I now know that Greg isn't the best guy. But the whole point is like him learning and growing. And I love that. I think it's aged very well. I think Roderick Rules specifically and Dog Days, but those movies just nail like the familial vibe. Like Greg and Roger's relationship is so good. And it's just so like wholesome. But yeah, we might have to watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World soon. I don't know how much you're going to like that because that is like a film bro type comedy, but
Yeah, well, I know that. Okay, so for the listeners who aren't my family, my brother Brady, I know that who is very similar in your tastes to
yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Sometimes I think he may just take your opinion and then make it. But sorry, not to roast my brother, because he does have his own opinion sometimes. But that is one of his up there movies. So
Yeah. I think to speak to that point, I think at some point when we were growing up, me and Brady, like it was kind of vice versa, where he would like a movie, so I would also like that movie, or I would like a movie, so he would also like that movie. I think we've kind of grown out of that now because there are some movies that he loves that I'm like, dog, what are you talking about? That movie is trash. And some movies where I love them and he doesn't. So I
you
think
guys
we've
have
grown out of that stage.
okay, good.
There
Good to know.
definitely was a time where it was like, oh, Brady likes that movie. I guess I'll like that movie because I trust him, I guess. But now I can form my own opinions. My frontal
Good.
lobe is
He might not quite yet,
Yeah,
but he also is very stubborn. So if he makes up his mind,
that's true.
sometimes it's now changing. So
I mean, I do have good opinions on everything, so I wouldn't mind if he doesn't or if he gives it.
good opinions.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But moving on to the next section, do you want to do action next?
Yeah, this, I don't know, I'm actually not going to say that.
What?
My, I'm just going to go right into it. My favorite action movie that I chose is Inception.
Mm.
Is that considered an action movie?
It's not like off the dome action movie, but like I see the reasoning
You see
there.
okay. Because I just had to put it in there. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably the first movie I watched it when I was a little too young to like really comprehend what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I have vivid memories the first time I watched it. Um and then like moving forward, like I remember watching it on an airplane with my dad on his iPad. We like plugged in like the double headphones. And it's one of those movies. I watched it in a film class in high school, and it's just one of those movies that I feel like I can see my brain developing at like
Yeah.
through time because I'm like, oh, this is like making a lot more sense. Whereas like when I first saw it, it was like very surface level. And I guess this is it's probably more of a drama, but there's a lot of action in there, so
Yeah.
we'll let it slide.
They shoot it there too. It's fine.
Yeah. There's like built. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so that's what I'm also like not a huge action movie person. I do like I like them and I love like Marvel movies and stuff, but like I am not like a huge like Mission Impossible, those kinds of movies, like spy movies, like that kind of stuff. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, that's why I don't know. It's also the first Christopher Nolan film I saw.
Mhm.
But yeah. Also, if we're doing two movies,
Yeah. Go ahead.
off the top of my head, I do love Top Gun Maverick
Yes.
action
Valid.
movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it would be on like this list, but now that I'm thinking about action movies, I
Uh,
like that one.
um, it's funny you say you don't like or Mission Impossible spy movies aren't your thing because my favorite action movie is Mission Impossible Fallout. For now, I put in parentheses on my notes, John Wick could take the spot eventually because I've yet to see any of the John Wick movies, which I
Uh,
know I have failed as a man because I need to watch those movies. But for now, Mission Impossible Fallout is my favorite action movie. I think the bathroom fight scene in that movie is like one of the best
Another
choreographed.
shout out Henry Cavill
Henry Cavill, yeah,
again.
we love Superman over here, but like that bathroom scene is one of the best action scenes in my opinion. And I remember when we saw Mission Impossible Fallout, it was like 10 p.m. We were going to a late showing, and I was thinking my dad, shout out Adam, was gonna fall asleep because he falls asleep in every movie. That we start past like 6 o'clock. But he was like locked in like the entire time because it was just so like crazy the whole time. And that showed me like, whoa, this is actually like a really good action movie because Adam Christopherson did not doze off a single time to my recollection in that movie. But yeah, I didn't really love the most recent Mission Impossible movie, but that
Which
could
one was that?
change. It was like the Dead Reckoning.
Oh,
It
is
was
that
the
the
one
one
with
where he's like in the airport at one part?
yeah, it's like with
That's
Haley
funny because
Atwell.
I actually
Yeah.
like that one.
It's not
I don't
bad.
know.
Like it's good. Yeah.
I'm all over the place with action movies because like I will first of all never choose to watch one. Like I'll never
Mhm.
be like, let's turn on Mission Impossible. Like it's just not really my thing.
Yeah.
But I do watch them and I do like enjoy them, you know?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it's just not my genre.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So
Um, Also, I was gonna say, you ready for like the first hot take of this podcast?
please give it to me.
Okay, I don't know if this is necessarily like a hot take because I'm gonna say it and then I'm gonna adjust what I say. I am not the biggest Christopher Nolan fan,
That's
but
fair.
I'm going to adjust that a little bit because that's not saying I don't like the guy. I think he makes good movies, of course, and I think he makes great movies sometimes. But I think a lot of his movies are a lot more plot over character focused, meaning like the story takes forefront, like the characters are just kind of along for the ride. Whereas I'm more of a character over plot type person where the characters are like driving the story forward, like their actions are causing, the things to happen And the perfect example would be like Tenet. Like, what
I do
happens
not
in
like
Tenet?
I do not like
Yeah.
Tenet. I hate that movie.
Mhm,
That is a movie, I'm easy to please. I went out of
mhm,
that theater and I said, "What did I just watch? That made zero sense."
mhm. It was like when I was watching Tenet, I was watching it with my friend, and during the third act, I like leaned over to him and I was like, I have no idea what I'm watching right now, but it's pretty cool. Like every Christopher Nolan movie has things to enjoy about it,
Mhm.
but there's a lot that are not very character focused, which I would want them to be. Like, for example, Inception, I would say, is pretty character focused.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer, I think, obviously, is very, very character focused. But something like Dunkirk, which I still like that movie, but it's just very like, this is happening now, and then this is happening now, and then this is happening now. Like, I want something where I'm getting attached to like the people there and like what's happening to them. Dunkirk might not have been the best example because I do like a decent amount of that, but there's just a lot of
Shout
Christopher
out
Nolan
Harry
movies.
Styles.
Yeah. Also, this is something that I need to say about Chris Nolan is sometimes this is a term I'm going to use a lot. Sometimes his movies just don't got the sauce. And what I mean by the sauce is like, I don't know. I'll kind of use that loosely, but like a movie that has the sauce, which may make an appearance later on this list, is The Batman. That movie got the sauce. Like
Mhm.
the cinematography on point, the music fantastic. Like everything is just like sauce filled. But Christopher Nolan movies, a lot of the time, they don't got sauce. Oppenheimer, that movie's got sauce. And like the editing in the way that story's structured, that's got sauce. But like Tenet, negative sauce. I don't think that movie has
Zero
any.
sauce.
So I may have to explain that a little bit later, but let's move on. So let's go animated, unless you have any other thoughts on this before we move on.
No, that's great. Yeah, loved it.
So I'll go first for animated. I have Prince of Egypt as my favorite
Oh,
animated movie.
fire.
I could put a lot of other ones like Spider-Verse or like How to Train Your Dragon, tons of different others.
Mhm.
But Prince of Egypt is a movie that like I watch and I like feel. Where like all
Mm,
these movies, I really like things that make me feel something, like get
mhm.
big emotions out of me. But Truman or not Truman Show, Prince of Egypt is just like on another level. Probably because it's like kind of spiritual,
Mhm.
but not kind of like very much is spiritual. But it's not to the point where it's like annoyingly so.
Yeah.
Because like people who aren't even like atheists love Prince of Egypt just because it's a good movie.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like a lot of Christian or just any religious media, a lot of the time, it's very cringe because it's like trying to preach to you first and then tell a
Mhm.
story second. Whereas Prince of
Yeah.
Egypt is the opposite. It's trying to tell the story first and then like you learn lessons as you choose along the way, essentially. But
Yeah.
I could talk about that forever. What is your favorite animated movie?
First thing I have to say, I love Prince of Egypt. I think another reason that you might feel that movie so hard is because of the music.
But yeah,
I
100%.
think music is such an impactful storyteller, and
Mhm,
I'm a huge musical fan.
mhm.
So, we should have had that as a category,
Yeah,
but,
we should have. Dang it.
but my favorite animated movie, I don't know if it's, like, my favorite of all time because there's so many animated movies. I also am a huge Disney fan, just in
Mhm,
general, like, so, I mean, recent Disney, not so much, but, like, classic Disney that I grew up with, so my favorite is Lion King. Think the music is insane. It's so good. I may have had
mhm,
a crush on an animated lion when I was little. So shout out Simba.
mhm,
So yeah, I love The Lion King. I think it's so good. I love the music in it. I think the animation is like just so pretty. Like I love and just can't wait to be king all of like the colorful like
mhm,
kaleidoscopy. It's so fun. I think Pride Rock is just like so iconic. Um
mhm,
classic Shakespearean type story. So,
mhm,
yeah,
exactly. Love it. Did you see? Have you?
I have not.
Don't,
Okay. I
don't.
have heard so many mixed reviews on it. I wasn't ever planning on seeing it, especially in theaters. I've heard a lot of the music on like TikTok and stuff. I do
And
love Lin-Manuel Miranda, I do have to say.
yeah.
I think he is very smart. I think that it is a cop-out to not animate it the way it was originally animated and to
Mhm.
do the CGI live action. That is not live action. Like
No.
that, it's so bad. Anyways, so yeah, not seen it. Don't plan to
Mhm.
anytime soon.
Yeah. I am usually a Lin-Manuel Miranda defender, but I think he missed with Mufasa on a lot of his songs.
That's
For
fair. A lot of the
example,
songs that I have heard, not my fave,
Mhm.
but go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say the villain song is called Bye Bye. And it takes place like the villain is about to like murder like spoilers, Mufasa and Scar's like pride. Like he's about to just kill them all. But before he does it, he sings like this funny little like I don't know. It just doesn't like it's supposed to be a very menacing moment, but Lin Manuel just like wrote a song that is very just like lighthearted and stupid, and so it just
Mm,
takes away.
hate
And you
that.
could say that about a lot of things in Mufasa, but we're not talking about Mufasa. We're talking about Lion King, a good movie. But yes, I agree. Lion King is fantastic. It's probably in like top 10 animated movies for sure for me. But let's move on, shall we?
Was it? Is it my turn?
Yes, let's go to franchise. What's your favorite franchise?
I have to. I was thinking because I love a lot of franchises. Like,
Mhm.
um, I don't know. I love Star Wars. I love Marvel. I love, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean. I have to give shout outs
Mhm.
where I can, you know. I love the Avatar movies that are coming out. So there's a lot that I could choose from, but
Yeah.
in order to really be true to myself, I had to choose the Hunger Games franchise. I literally was so obsessed with the Hunger Games in elementary school, middle school, that I had an Instagram fan page dedicated
Really?
to the
I
Hunger
didn't know
Games.
this.
Me and Marin had one. Marin is another one of our cousins. We had one together. It had very little followers. It was not, it was literally, it's still up. Like I can show it to you.
Mhm.
But yeah, so
What's it
had to
called?
choose Hunger Games. I think it's like Hunger Games M&N or something like it's something stupid. But yeah, I love the book series. I think Suzanne Collins has done a really good job with her storytelling in that, and I also am so excited for Haymitch's games to come out. The book,
Mhm.
what is that one even called? Sunrise on the Reaping or something?
I think
And
so.
it's coming out in March. So very close to getting that. I also think Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was so good. So
Mhm.
yeah. And the OG, of course. Catching
Yeah.
Fire clearly better than the other ones, but you know, altogether, my favorite franchise.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I really like Hunger Games. I love Catching Fire, obviously. I think the first one's good. I love Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I don't love it. I like it a lot. But I like despise Mockingjay. Like I hate it with a
Did you
burning
read them?
passion. No, I didn't. I've read like the first book, I think, but I never read Catching Fire or Mockingjay or Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Uh, but it's not even like the movie itself. It's like the story of Mockingjay I don't like because Suzanne Collins wanted to do like a like realistic take on the chosen one type trope.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, Katniss does like nothing in the last story. Like I
Okay,
get.
but I, as a defender, I do
Mhm.
have to say, because I will say I do not love Mockingjay either.
Mhm.
I genuinely do not think that they should have broken it into two pieces, considering they still left out some of the best parts of the book.
Mhm.
Um, but I will say the book, and I think it's hard because it's like, okay, it's a book to movie adaptation.
Yeah.
The book, I think, helps you understand why Katniss is doing what she's doing and why she's not
Mhm.
really doing anything because she's so mentally unstable.
Yeah.
And
And
you
see,
don't
like
see that.
that's what I'm saying though. Like I don't like that that's where she chose to
That's fair.
take that story because like for me it's just not very satisfying because I wish Katniss would have had like I like that they delve into her like mental stability and how she's handling it all. But I wish that like she overcame that at a certain point, which like she kind of does at the end. But I wish like the story was her being like a reluctant leader who eventually like steps up and even like tells people like whenever I say this, people are like, oh, but she shoots Corin at the end. Like when I say like I wish Katniss like actually like stood up for herself in the end and like done something important. It's like, yeah, killing Corin was like, sure, she like stops in the next dictatorship or whatever, which is good. But like I feel like I would rather have her step up earlier and not just kind of just be like doing nothing. Like I get, yeah, that's more realistic. Like she's just kind of the propaganda of the revolution or whatever. But to me, that just isn't as satisfying as if she actually became a fully fledged leader and like stepped up. So shout out to the Red Rising book series because it does that, but doesn't turn the main character into just depressive, like nothing at the end. But
Which is
it's not
okay.
the worst thing. It's just
Yeah,
like
which
I
I
wish it would have been
understand.
better.
I understand why you like maybe don't like it, but also
Mm-hmm.
like I do think for a lot of people it probably resonates
Yeah, of
because
course.
when you're like actually mentally unwell, like it is hard
Mm-hmm.
to get out of. And
Yeah.
especially when you have so much pressure put on you to be
Mm-hmm.
perfect and the center of attention. Like, Candace was just doing what she could. I
Mm-hmm.
respect it.
And
But
I respect that.
I also respect you not liking it for now.
Mm-hmm. I just,
We'll
for
probably have to
me,
have a Hunger Games episode though.
yeah, exactly. For me as a storyteller, the last thing I'll say on this is like, I, I really, really love stories where it delves into, which we'll be talking about that in a second, but stories where it delves into somebody's like mental state and depression and stuff like that. But I love when they like overcome that and there's like a triumphant, like, I got through it because I feel like that's a lot more
That's fair.
inspiring. But anyways, we'll have a Hunger Games episode.
That's fair.
We'll
She got her happy ending though. She just needed PETA to come back.
yeah. What's the game they play at the
Things
end?
just
It's like
kept getting worse though. How was she supposed to
yeah,
get better? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
how? Things kept
But
getting worse.
I will point our people to the Red Rising series because it's very similar in tone. And you haven't read those books, which you should because they're
Nah.
great. But they're very similar in tone, and things keep getting worse. But there's a few moments actually where the main character is like, I'm not gonna let this like he's like very mentally unstable, but he has a like multiple points where he's like, I have to be better, and I have to, despite the circumstances, like I need to fight still. And I
That's
like
fair.
Katniss does do that. But what's the game that her and PETA
Here is
play?
touching. We burn. You burn with us. They turned on
um,
that camera and she said, okay,
lock in. She
lock
locked in.
in.
Anyways, my favorite franchise is I could say a lot here. I love a lot of like superhero movies. I'm a big superhero guy. I have to mention the Batman, or else I would probably regret it because I think the Batman and just what Matt Reeves is doing with Batman and Penguin and Batman 2 in 2027 is really, really good. I love
Didn't
it.
it just get pushed back
Yeah, to
to
2027.
2027? Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Sorry.
But my favorite franchise, I have to say, is Lord of the Rings. That clears pretty much everything else. Like, I love Marvel, love DC, love Mission Impossible, love all these different franchises, but they're not as consistent as Lord of the Rings is. And by this, I mean like the trilogy, like the original trilogy. Those movies are so good. Just watched them with my older sister, Annie. She thought she wouldn't like them, ended up really liking them. So I think every single person should try to watch Lord of the Rings at least once in their life. It's very inspiring. Some of the best characters in all fiction, in my opinion. Shout out Sam and Aragorn. And yeah, I think everybody should watch them at some point. They are fantastic. And every franchise should aspire to be as solid as those first three movies.
Love it.
Mhm.
I have seen the first one and that's it.
Yeah, we will be returning to that at some point.
Fair enough. I'm ready.
Mhm. All right. And then, I like these last few we have. So before we get into guilty pleasure and then favorite of all time, we do have one different category because we don't want to just, put ourselves in a box if we only talk about movies. Sometimes you want to talk about a TV show. So we have series, our favorite TV series is as a subject. So do you want to go first on this one?
Sure. This one's pretty tricky for me because I probably watch television more than I watch movies. And I watch trash TV. Like, I love the CW shows that are made for teenagers where it's literally just no plot.
Yeah.
So I have lots of guilty pleasure TV shows. I also think that TV series could be, there could be subjects within.
Yeah.
But I chose, and this has an asterisk because it's not over yet.
Oh boy.
I chose Stranger Things.
I like it. Valid.
Because I feel like if they do it right, that series will be so legendary. I think it already is, in pop culture and everything. It's so good. I think it's people are really invested and really love it. And so I think if they can end it right, it will go down as one of the best of all time for sure.
For sure. Stranger Things is top 5 for me too, I'd say. I think season 1 of Stranger Things is probably one of the most perfect seasons of television of all time. There's very few things that I can't even think of anything that I'm I don't really like that. I think season 2 is pretty solid. Season 3, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think they went a little overboard with it, but season 4 brought it back. Season 4 was freaking amazing. So hopefully they stick the landing. I'm a little worried, honestly.
I am too. That's why I put the asterisk.
Yeah.
Because I agree. I don't think that I don't think every season has been the most solid, but it's really hard when you're dealing with a TV show because you're trying to, and especially for them that are each season they're trying to do it a little bit bigger and better, but while still trying to stay with the vibes that they had from season 1 and staying true to that. So I've heard good things about the table reads and everything. So I'm hoping that it sticks the landing as well. And that's my favorite series as of right now.
Yeah. Please, Stranger Things. Please, Duffer Brothers.
Please come through. Please come through.
Please. My favorite series, I could not pick one, so I picked 3. We could have a whole podcast on TV shows alone, but knee-jerk reaction favorite show of all time is Daredevil. That show is amazing.
I gave that a shot.
Really?
Yeah,
you might have to give it another shot
for me.
It's so good. But Daredevil, I think, is far and away the best thing that Marvel Studios has ever made. I think a lot of the movies are really solid, but Daredevil is just something else. It has something it wants to actually say. You know what I'm talking about? It's not just trying to be superhero. It's no, we want you to learn something from this.
We got a message.
Exactly. And season 3 of Daredevil is one of my favorite seasons of television ever. It didn't save necessarily, but at that point when I watched it for the first time, I was a 17-year-old, and I was kind of in the phase of do I really believe that God exists and stuff? And then season 3 sat me down and was yes, God exists. Because Matt Murdock is a Catholic, and a lot of season 3 is his faith crisis, and seeing him go through that and the finale of that character arc really helped me realize yes, I do have a testimony. I do believe in this. So it'll always have a special place in my heart for that. And then the other 2 real quick, Gravity Falls. Feel I don't need to elaborate very much. One of the greatest animated shows of all time. Very funny, very solid. Pretty much all of my sense of humor came from that show. And another show called Video Game High School, but we will not be discussing that anymore. And then my last, I would say, is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Also don't need to elaborate very much. That
classic.
Surprisingly, the Christopherson household was not into Avatar. It just passed over us. So the first time I watched it, it was weird. I don't know why, because it's right up our alley.
Yeah.
But the first time I watched it was during COVID when it got super big on Netflix again. And honestly, season 1, I was this is good, but I don't really understand why people say it's one of the best ever made. And then season 2 happens, and a specific episode, the Tales of Bossing say a specific tale of Uncle Iroh's tale in that episode. That was the moment where I was like, oh, this show is peak. They get it. This show is amazing. So Avatar, fantastic. And since then, I have loved that every single day of my life. I need to rewatch that show because I love it very much.
Yeah, I've never seen Avatar: Last Airbender through.
Yeah.
I do remember growing up, like me and Jackson would like throw it on when it was on like Nickelodeon, and I remember like liking it, but it really did not do much for me because I was still a child. But I remember liking it, so I should probably watch that again. Watch that at some point. Gravity Falls is peak. I love Gravity Falls. So yeah, love it. Love your 3 shows.
Thank you. And then I do have to shout out Severance, season 2 coming out on Friday.
Yes,
check it out.
I haven't seen Severance, but I want to. So, see, this is the problem. Like, I mean, it's not a problem, but like your 3 shows, like, I haven't even seen them. Like, I've seen Gravity Falls, but
yeah,
you know, I don't have the love for Gravity Falls that you do. I love it though. But
that's what this podcast is for. It's you opening my eyes, and I am opening your eyes.
True,
that's what this is for. All right.
Okay,
so
what's the next one? Guilty pleasure?
Yeah. Before we get the last best overall, what are our guilty pleasures? I'll go first. I was going to say The Mummy with Brendan Fraser because that's a goofy, fun adventure movie. But I feel like that's respected enough. Like, people like The Mummy.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't feel any guilt liking that movie. Like, it's fun. It's great. But the movies I do feel guilt over liking are the Transformers movies.
You feel guilty about those?
100%.
Oh, that's
the first
so funny.
The first one was Shia LaBeouf. I don't feel guilty over it. I think that is legitimately like a good movie.
You know what? Now that you're saying that, that could be my favorite action movie.
Really? Yeah.
Just the first one. I don't really like the rest, but I like Bumblebee. Shout out Haley Steinfeld.
But yeah, the first one I think is a legit good movie. I think Bumblebee is I wouldn't say necessarily it's really good, but I think it's a good movie. And I think Transformers 1 doesn't like belong on the guilty pleasure list because that movie is legitimately fantastic. That movie is so good. But besides those 3, I am embarrassed to admit that I like or find enjoyment out of every other Transformers movie. They are so vulgar and so racist, but they're so awesome. Like, something about Optimus Prime and Megatron just duking it out just like does something to me, man. It just scratches that itch.
So funny.
But I do think the Mark Wahlberg movies are like atrocious. Like, those movies are awful. The other 2 Shia LaBeouf movies, I think there's things in those movies that are legitimately very good. Last Night and Age of Extinction, I think, are some of the worst movies I've ever seen, but I'd still probably watch them because they're just so like entertaining.
Is Age of Extinction the one with the ones that are like animals?
That's Rise of the Beast. That one like just recently came out. That one I would probably still say that's a guilty pleasure because I don't think it's up to par with like the original or Bumblebee or Transformers 1, but it's nowhere near as bad as the Michael Bay movies. I think it's like slightly better than those.
I'm glad that you said that you like those movies. I love those movies. They're freaking fun. I mean, actually, I will say the ones that you mentioned, like, I haven't seen Transformers 1, but like, I've liked the animated one. But I've seen the first one with Shia LaBeouf, Bumblebee, and that last one that we just talked about, Rise of the Beast. And I love all of those movies.
Yeah. They're so fun. Like, there's just something about...
I actually, in my car, from the first Shia LaBeouf one, you know, the little disco ball?
Yeah.
And the bee thing that says biatch on it.
Do you have one of those?
It's in my car. Like, I saw
That's
it,
so
I think
funny.
the last time we watched it as a family, I saw it and I was like, Mom, that is the funniest thing ever. I need it. And so she like ordered it on Amazon for me. I don't have the biatch hanging right now. It's just on like my like windshield wiper thing right now. But the disco ball is still up there. So
yeah, I love it. I want to get that. And when he's like, the light like reflects
with his arm showing off the biceps. So funny. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Is it my turn for guilty pleasure?
Yeah.
Okay, my favorite guilty pleasures, there's a lot because there's a lot of movies that are not good that I really like. But I had to just, go with the Disney Channel original movies. I love these. I love most of them. Mostly High School Musical. I mean, Kenny Ortega can do no wrong. I love that man. He's the best. But and then also introduced me to Troy Bolton, Zac Efron.
Of course.
Again, I love what's it called? Teen Beach Movie. I could even go for Descendants. I love those movies. And I genuinely think that some of them are like solid good movies.
Lemonade
Like,
Mouth.
Lemonade Mouth
Minutemen.
is so good. Minutemen, there's one called Cloud9 that is not a legitimately good movie, but I still love it. There's some, I just had to give a shout out to Disney Channel original movies just as a whole. Camp Rock.
Of course.
I don't know. What are some other ones that I can think of? Even like,
Halloween Town. We haven't talked about Halloween
no,
Town.
Halloween Town. I was just going to say Halloween Town. There's, what's that one with the monsters? And it's Olivia
Girl vs.
Holt.
Monster.
Girl vs. Monster.
Yeah.
That's an awful movie, but I love it.
That movie scared me because they
it
Scarecrow.
scared you.
Yeah, the Scarecrow ghost was scary. Like just one of them.
I guess all of the ghosts were a little scary. Yeah, I love me a good DCOM. Recently, not as much. The further back you go, the better. Like Cheetah Girls. Are you kidding? So good. But yeah, shout out DCOMs. How many shout outs have I given?
I don't know. We've both given a lot of shout outs. What's the one? Twitches. Was that a DCOM or was that an actual?
Twitches is a DCOM. I haven't seen those as much as the other ones. But I'm sure they're great. I'm sure I'd eat them up.
I just remember the Shadow Man villain. It was like horrifying as a child. There was one Disney Channel original movie. I can't remember what it's called, but it was another one where it was like a kid who could see ghosts or whatever. The villain was, the actor who played the villain was like Arwen from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
That sounds so familiar. I have not seen that in ages. So I can't think of the name either, but it sounds so familiar.
I can't remember what it is, but that villain, the guy that Arwen plays, to this day, I think is scary. Like, I haven't seen the movie in years, but just the image, I'll have to send it to you because he's like legitimately scary in that movie, but I can't remember what it's called. Anyways.
Also, if you didn't know this news, I'm sorry to break it to you, but Disney Channel is officially gone forever.
Really? What?
Yeah. It happened like last week.
Just Disney Plus now?
Just Disney Plus. Our childhood is gone forever. I know.
That's sad.
As long as it lives forever in Disney Plus, I don't really care. They were making good shows anyways.
It's true.
Nothing can be, like Hannah Montana, Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place.
You know what show though? Like, I still don't like. I don't know why I have such a hatred for it, but Dog with a Blog should burn.
Yeah, no, not a good one.
I don't even think I've watched a single episode of it, but I just saw like commercials or scenes, and I was like, even as like a kid, I was like, this is stupid.
I think as a kid, like, I think it was also at that point where we were kind of like growing out of it a little bit. Yeah. And so like that didn't help, but but Good Luck Charlie.
Good Luck Charlie. Sweet Life. We talked about Wizards.
Sweet Life on Deck.
The Wizard of Waverly Place movie. One of the best DCOMs.
Another DCOM. Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas, another DCOM.
These aren't guilty pleasures, Natalie. These are like actual like things that I would be fine watching.
Some people might say they are though.
Yeah, well, those would be unkind people.
You would, if I made you watch Cloud9, I promise you'd be like, how do you like this movie?
I think Avery, my little sister, was watching that not too long ago. Yeah, it's like Snowboarders, the guy from Minutemen grown up, and Dove Cameron.
Yes.
Also, a tangent. I don't really like Dove Cameron that much. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from, but I've never really liked Dove Cameron. I don't hate her, but I'm just like, I don't like you. But I remember seeing scenes from Cloud9, and there's going to be two people who understand this reference, but the guy who plays Howard Hamlin in Better Call Saul is the main girl's dad. And I walked in and Avery was watching that show, and I was like, what the freak? So for the two people who understand that, that's probably going to blow your mind. But other than that, any other guilty pleasures that you have?
That's it. That was my category.
Neat. So, favorite of all time, overall favorite movie, Natalie, what would you say is yours?
Did you pick one movie?
Yeah, I picked one movie for
Okay,
that.
good. This is really hard for me. I honestly, I don't ever really have just one favorite movie. I could really go a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose, I would choose Little Women, 2019, directed by Greta Gerwig, with Timothy Chalamet. Who else is in that movie? Saoirse Ronan. Is that her name?
Yeah.
And why am I blanking on? Oh, Florence Pugh? Are you kidding? That was my introduction to Timothy Chalamet and Florence Pugh. I had seen Saoirse in a couple other movies, and it was my introduction to Greta Gerwig. And I just love that movie. It feels like a warm hug to me. I saw it for the first time. I didn't see it in theaters. I watched it in 2020. I was home for Christmas. I lived in Logan, Utah for a little bit, and my parents live in Highland. So I was home for Christmas. You know that time between Christmas and New Year's where you're just kind of in limbo doing nothing. And it wasn't time for me to go back yet. I needed to fill up some time and stuff. So I was like, you know what? I can't find this movie anywhere. I'm just going to rent it. So I rented it on YouTube because it's the only thing that I have that I can rent movies from without using my dad's card. And so I was like, I'm going to rent it on YouTube. I'm going to watch this movie. And I just remember I watched it on my phone in my room. And I just remember being like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And I probably cried in it. And I think that I probably watched it between that time, that Christmas break, 5 times. And it's just become a very comfort movie for me. I love it.
Yeah.
I think the music's great. I love a period piece. And yeah, I think it's just so good. And it's definitely a very my favorite thing about it is that it's all of these sisters, these girls, they all have very different paths. They all want different things. And one of the lines in it is just because my dreams are different than yours doesn't mean they're not important. And I just think that that's so good.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can relate to that too, G, because neither of us are on very traditional paths in our culture.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things that I'm like, you know what? Period. I don't have to do the same things as you to be important.
Yeah. I love that.
So that's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, but it's been on my watch list for a long time. I've seen clips from it, of course.
Yeah.
Like the scene when Timothée confesses his love and she doesn't return it. I've seen that scene so many times because I was like, it's just like my life.
No, on the hill.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. It's so good. Timothy Chalamet also just blew me away in that movie.
Yeah.
Obviously it was the first movie that I had seen of him, and I was just who is this scraggly little boy, skinny little guy? And I watched it and I was like, he is amazing. He's such a good actor. Shout out Dune.
Shout out
he's
Brady's,
so good. So anyways, love that. They're all so good. Every single person in that film. I just love it.
Dang. Yeah, I need to watch it. So moving on to, I wish I could
What's
talk
your
more
favorite
about.
movie?
Yeah, I wish I could talk more about Little Woman, but I just haven't seen it yet. So
No,
we'll
that's
have to
fine.
discuss that later.
We'll have to talk about it later.
But my favorite movie, there is a decent amount of movies I could say for this. But knee-jerk reaction, off the top of my head, my favorite movie that I've stuck with for a decent amount of years now is Unbreakable by M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Yes.
Love that movie. That was I think that was the first movie that I can remember anyways, where we rented it, we watched it, and then I woke up the next morning and just watched it again by myself because it was just that good. I think Bruce Willis gives one of his best performances. I think Samuel L. Jackson's fantastic in that movie. Just the whole dynamic between their characters, their friendship is really, really cool, really, really interesting. And where that relationship goes, which I won't say because if people haven't seen it, they should. And go in blind. The premise is Bruce Willis gets in a train crash. Everybody on the train dies except him, and he doesn't have a single scratch on him. And Samuel L. Jackson's character says that he can kind of tell him why that is. and I don't want to say anything else, but I think it's just a really good movie about just a man trying to find his purpose and just finding your purpose. I love the father-son kind of B plot to it. It makes me teary-eyed at the very end, the final kind of scene with them two together. It's really, really good. The music is very underrated. James Newton Howard, one of the best composers working today, does not get enough credit. What else about it? I think that's about all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil things for people who haven't watched it. But Unbreakable has inspired me for a very long time and will continue to do that probably for the rest of my life. So everybody should go watch Unbreakable.
That's awesome. I haven't seen that movie in years. I think I may have only seen it like 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember from it was that the first time I watched it was when my grandparents lived in Denver, Colorado. On that side of the family, I'm a little bit on like the older side of the cousins. There's like a pretty large gap between me and like the youngest. So I was kind of like, I would kind of just hang with the adults mostly.
Yeah.
But I was still really little. And I remember that movie scared me.
Yeah.
Like at the end, like it was pretty, like I just remember it being pretty intense. I remember there being a pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I remember really liking it. Like, I liked the ideas of it and stuff, but I haven't seen it since. Or if I have, I don't remember it that clearly. So I would love to watch that one again.
Should watch that again soon.
But yay, Garrett, we went through all our movies.
Yes, we did it. We went through everything.
Yay.
So for the first movie that we will be watching, we're going to have Natalie pick what we watch.
Woo-hoo.
So
Yes.
What we watched, that's the name of the show.
What are we going to watch?
Yes. Natalie, what is your pick for the first official movie we'll be watching 2 weeks from now?
Okay, well, Garrett, I feel like it might be fun to start with my favorite movie of all time. So let's start with Little Women 2019, directed by Greta Gerwig. See what you think. I hope you like it. It'll be fun. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what you think.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of like follow along with what we're doing, we're going to watch that. We're going to watch it separately, and then we'll come together and then share our rankings. So if you want to rank it with us, you can. Remind us of those categories again, Garrett.
Plot, character, aesthetic, as in cinematography, editing, set design, music, acting, and writing.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. We are so happy that you joined us. We are so excited for our new podcast, What We Watch. Tell your friends, follow us, all the things, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, we will.